Hello, it is me, Drum Boy Read Slow, and we are back with another review. And yes, I am as tired as I look. Wow, I got beat up from the feet up this past work week, but that did not stop me. I got neck deep in these comic books, and I got reading, and I am so excited about what we got today. It is the amazing run by Jason Aaron, current with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Um, just want to preface this review with this is going to be the completion of his run. Wednesday, we're getting issue 12. I got 1 through 11 here for you today. I'm really excited about this conclusion. I've been waiting on it. I have positive marks, but I also have some concerns I want to get into for my readers' sake, for my viewers who want to possibly check this out. I want to preface some things, but let me just say that Jason Aaron is going to complete this run, and then he is going to be handing the ball off to someone else. So this is no indication of the quality of the book going forward, but I can tell you right now, with these 12 issues, I have a very distinct opinion on them, or 1 through 11 anyway so far, because I can't see the future. So, yeah, I mean, the table's set. I can tell you that much. The table is definitely set for what's going forward, and I want to give you the best possible idea of what Mr. Aaron has done here, alongside some great artists, and his main artist starting, I think, at issue 6. Juan Ferreira did some work here that is going to sit in my memory for the rest of my life. I really want to put a spotlight on that, so let's get into it. Well, cowabunga, dudes, have I been waiting to talk about this one. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you had told 7-year-old me I'd be at my age now looking at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books, I probably would have jumped for joy and high-fived you. Man, getting older, paying the bills, being an adult, they stole our childhood right out from under our feet. Well, it's right here. Our turtle boys are back. They are beautiful. And there just is one thing left to say. Man, I love being a turtle. Before we get into first impressions on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I do want to make one distinction here in case you're not fully involved in the IDW universe of the Turtles, is that they have a lot of books going on and a lot of canons going on right now. If you are familiar at all with the Last Ronin story, I have read that, and I have been keeping up with that version of the canon. So this is not going to be a review about the Last Ronin or the Re-Evolution or the Last Ronin Lost Years. See what I mean about when I talk about trade paperbacks to get caught up? We will be doing a review on that iteration of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles eventually. I am a huge fan of the first graphic novel, The Last Ronin, so, I mean, it's impossible to avoid, and it's some amazing reading. I can honestly say that The Last Ronin is the reason that I have picked up the current line of Ninja Turtles, and I am super happy I made that decision, and that, again, makes me even more in debt to the incredible quality that was The Last Ronin. So, high recommend on that. I am not sure how the continuation goes. That I'm really looking forward to checking that out, but I have everything up to date on that, so look forward to that. All right, well, so dipping into first impressions of the book that we are reviewing, the current IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles run has been, I wouldn't say it was a monthly. It seemed kind of bi-monthly, or maybe even 3 months for some issues to come out, so it wasn't consistent. So my first impression based on that and the combined issue with there was 4 different artists. We have a big name writer and Jason Aaron coming in on the project, so that was huge hype. But it was pretty much known ahead of the release of issue 1 that we would be getting 4 different artists to introduce each turtle individually. So it's not necessarily reflective on the covers, but issue 1 was primarily about Raphael, and issue 2 followed Michelangelo. Issue 3 tells the whereabouts of Leonardo, and issue 4, which was slightly previewed in a ashcan slash, it was called Alpha. It was a precursor issue to the line, so kind of consider it a 0 in the series. Issue 4 was slightly previewed, so you get a little bit of that repeating again. To be honest with you, if I had to base all my first impressions off of reading that Alpha issue and that little tidbit we got on Donatello, things weren't looking up. I was a little bit concerned. And then the fact that they were going to do this unique route of the 4 different artists and the mood changing issue to issue had me thinking, I'm going to have to stack this and read it sequentially. That's actually one of the comics, since I've started reading comics again, that kind of built that up in me, that just to be patient, get 10, 12 issues, and then let's just rush read it and see how it all goes sequentially. And to be honest with you, all my fears, by the time I got through issue 4, all my fears about the unique approach to starting this book with the artwork in that sense, it had me hyped up for the one singular artist that we were being promised by issue 6. But I was delighted, and it moved along nicely. The concept that the turtles were separated at the end of the last run, and they couldn't stand each other, and they had different directions they were taking their lives and their next bit of their journey in. I was almost expecting it to kind of get dragged out, bringing them back together, but by issue 2, where Michelangelo's the key character, him and Raphael connect, because Raphael was introduced in issue 1. And by issue 3, you got 3 of the turtles with Leonardo joining in. And then by issue 4, they're already linked up again. And issue 5 is bringing in Casey Jones, introducing him. And then by issue 6, it's one unit. And the story, their individual paths start to coalesce. And you kind of understand the reason why they've been separated. So, digging in. Now that we're past the initial fears that this could be a flop, or IDW, sometimes they nail it, sometimes they don't, and that is one of the things about comic books, especially these licensed properties like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Power Rangers or Space Ghost. You never know what you're gonna get, because they're kind of using this big property to push their line. Obviously they want that notoriety or that pop culture effect to get eyes on their books. But once we got past the initial fears and we saw, hey, this is pretty good, this is pretty addictive, this is worth keeping up with, the next thing we kind of get into is more or less the premise of them being apart and then coming together and then not being able to work as a team, as Jason Aaron sophisticates each turtle to the point where you now that gone is that campiness feel of the cartoon we all remember, that they always work together. They have real serious issues that they need to work out as a family and as a team, combating what they combat, which is anything that is a danger to the public. That they know that they have to protect mutant kind, but they also have to be out there saving just the average Joe that they share and breathe the same air as. We know the turtles, that they got integrity and that they've been raised right by Master Splinter. But so essentially, Raphael, his story starts out in prison, and it's not what you think right away. They slowly unravel that or peel that onion, and you get to the center, and you find out why he's there and how he is more or less trying to accomplish something there, trying to it's like he's got a debt to pay off, but that he's there under false pretenses. Michelangelo's gone full Hollywood. He's a superstar out in Japan. Think Power Rangers, and he's got his own little version of Power Rangers out there. Leonardo is, the quiet type as always. He has found a place where he is alone with actual turtles out by Riverside, and he's actually he's got some strange outlook on it. And when he, what he didn't initially expect, or what he did initially expect to be, his outcome in life, didn't arise with, living amongst the turtles. He finds a different path, and you know what? Honestly, it was a charming issue. I liked it a lot. But he basically kind of realizes, like, he's got somewhere else to be, so he kind of returns. And then we have Donatello, who seems to have completely lost his mind, talking to a dead rat that he seems to believe is Master Splinter. He is trapped in a strange location where he's kept in a cell among other mutant kind like himself, and I don't want to get into like exactly, because it's an interesting setting, but he is playing hero when and playing Mr. Sacrificer like always, and he's he's essentially trapped and treated like a caged animal that's let out only to be attacked, and like a circus animal that you get to beat on. And he's quickly dispatching everybody, and then he goes and lays back down in his cell, and he gives his food away. What little scraps he gets, he gives away to the other inhabitants, trapped, facing the same fate. And he always tries to be the one that gets picked, so that nobody else has to be beaten but him. And so obviously by issue 4, you got all the turtles, kind of coming together, and it's like, okay, we got to rescue Donatello, but once they succeed in that, he is like they're like, oh my God, what happened to you? He is super skinny compared to the rest of the turtles, and good on Juan Ferreira for continuing to depict that. He doesn't return to full health late into the series. I mean, they show that he has been affected by his time in captivity, and there is just an ongoing story with this dead rat thing that could be the fork in the road that separates people who want to get through this title, want to enjoy it, want to feel the nostalgia it brings, going back to their childhood, the 4 crazy turtles that put a big smile on their face, or they're gonna be like, this is too much. I can't suspend my disbelief. And that's where my concerns with this title for my readers is going to be. So we're going to get into the more in-depth on the spoilers, or so to speak, or the synopsis. Again, I refuse to fully ruin anything for my readers, because I need you guys to get the full experience if you can. But let me go ahead and preview some of this awesome title, and let's see if you are feeling it. Make no mistake, as you enter these first 4 issues, the change in the art is palpable. You are going to notice it. What stays consistent is the quality writing from Jason Aaron. I'm not saying any of the art is bad, but what ties this series together is Jason. Raphael begins to suspect that there are things afoot beyond the already complicated situation he has in prison, and he must now abandon what he is doing because the person that more or less was holding him in this cell and in this weird situation suddenly is slain without explanation, and Raphael sets out to find his brothers. Before reconnecting with his brother in the red headband, we meet Michelangelo, and we see a very, maybe the right word is a callous side of him. He's become arrogant and resentful of his brothers, living a life as a superstar out in Japan. And although he seemed to have found a path for himself where he can kind of take the spotlight, it becomes obvious that he's being burned out by this new lifestyle, and that his heart still remains somewhere far different from the world he now finds himself in. Reunited with his brother, Michelangelo more or less kind of says, "I never needed you." And he has some resentful feelings that have not died, and he lets Raph know it. We kind of see this more complex relationship between the two of them start to unravel. Issue 3, we get the first truly jarring art change, but it suffices and works to tell the story. We find Leonardo residing on a beach alongside actual turtles. Much of this issue features Leonardo trying to find a higher purpose, see a deeper meaning in his life. He waits a lot. It isn't till he stops a band of turtle poachers that he more or less remembers who he actually is. And this definitely is a fist pump moment. Much like his brothers, Raphael and Michelangelo, Leonardo experiences an encounter with the foot soldiers and becomes distinctly aware that the Foot Clan has not forgotten about him. Issue 4, we now know that 3 of the turtles have reunited, but the mystery about Donatello and his whereabouts is finally revealed. We are introduced to, well, take one look. The most jarring art change you are going to see in these comics before we get a consistent artist. But we are also introduced to jarring sights of our guy with the bow, Donatello, seemingly depleted, so much weight and muscle lost, but also seeming to have deteriorated in his mind. That is so very portrayed. It seems like Jason Aaron really, really wanted to show that Donatello's been through some stuff. Though he certainly hasn't lost his edge. In fact, Donatello might just be the turtle who's retained who he truly was before all their separating, than more than any of the other turtles. Yes, it is Donatello in his deteriorated state who we might just have to consider the main character of this entire arc and the heart of what makes the turtles who they are. Alright, so now we got the 4 turtles reunited. We know why each individual one left. We know how they felt about their brothers. We know what happened to them, why they're more or less friction as they come back together. And we're left with a situation where one of them has seemingly completely lost their mind and is rambling on about their dead father, Splinter, If you don't know, he's also a mutant. They're turtles. He was a rat, and he has passed on. But to Donatello, that hasn't really sunk in apparently, or actually, he actually believes Master Splinter has come back from the dead. So he has this rat, dead rat, I should say, that he takes around everywhere with him going forward from this point in the book, and his brothers are more or less like, well, we better not tell him because he might not be ready for it in his current state of mind. So like I said, this is kind of like the fork in the road. We get, Casey Jones introduced in issue 5. He becomes pivotal in a sense due to, well, we'll get to that. But the main thing that I think is going to drive readers away from this is the need to suspend your disbelief, because this rat actually is talking to the turtles. There is definitely like a spiritual thing going on, or a spiritual angle to this that Jason Aaron has included in this. And if you're not of the type to give any sort of credence to those types of narratives, a father figure, communicating with one of his sons, and then slowly, reaching another son and another son and another son, to the point where they're all sitting around a deceased rat, saying, "I heard you crying. I'm so sorry, Master Splinter. I'm sorry that we failed you. I'm sorry that we're fighting and that we're not acting like a family and we're not acting like a team." It's beautifully executed. It definitely put a lump in my throat. For me personally, I need stories like this. I need stories like this. But I absolutely, as a critical reader, I definitely saw the pitfalls of that type of storytelling. As dramatic as it may be, I definitely know enough about readers to know everyone's different, and some people that ain't gonna fly. So that is primarily the big thing that I think will turn readers off from this. There is also, later on, we'll get to it, but there is another issue where, again, it's a little bit too convenient of storytelling to, it's like, let's get this run nice and wrapped up in these 12 issues. So you have this Deus Ex Machina thing going on with this presence of Splinter, who seems to be able to, fix everything from the beyond, and then there's going to be a little bit more going on, and that ties in with this. But let's keep going. All right, so getting back into issue 5, which is the last issue with a different artist. So issues 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all different artists, all different styles. We got the introduction of a new character who was previously, his face is in the previous comics, but it is essentially the mayor of the city where the Turtles reside, New York City, I believe that is. And we go back in time, from his childhood all the way up to where he is now, and we see that this guy is one particular kind of scumbag, and he wasn't even going to win the election, but he went ahead and kills his opponent in the race, very coldly, I might add. We definitely see he is somebody willing to break the rules, and we are going to find out that his strings are being pulled, and he's being his rule, his reign as the face of the city is being backed by a powerful enemy of the Turtles, and his purpose is going to be to destroy said turtles and turn them into an enemy of the state and put them on the defensive. And we are introduced, obviously, as I showed the cover, we got Casey Jones. And Casey Jones and this mayor have a altercation, and let's just say it doesn't work out too well for Casey. So big pivotal point in the series is that one of the Turtles' main allies is hospitalized and put in critical condition. So we get him, but we get him only for a short minute. And this kind of just sets the table for what arc, I guess it's considered arc 2, but honestly, it does not feel like two separate arcs between issues 1 and 6 and issues 7 through 11 so far. But even here, you can see, because with the Turtles all reunited and the villain arc kind of set, they even say in the corner of the cover of issue 7, new story arc starts here. But rest assured, it is all one continuous, fluid, sequential story. So we get into issue 6, and now we finally get Juan Ferreira, who's going to be our dedicated artist for the remainder of the series. And let me tell you what an improvement on the overall experience that is. Juan Ferreira is, without a doubt, just off this book alone, going to remain one of my favorite artists for the rest of my life, due to his ability to create scope and action scenes that stretch an entire building's length. We're going to have to get into some of the panels. Let me show you. Juan Ferreira's inclusion in this run of comics was very, very accurately hyped, because that man kicked open the door and put some of the most gritty, moving, action-packed sequences I've ever seen in any panel among almost anything I've ever read. Every inch of every panel, you can just see the movement, the atmosphere. It's beautiful. The Turtles have become an enemy of the state, being pursued by what appears to be, firemen and police, but are actually representatives of the Foot Clan. And the Turtles are now being hunted and more or less demonized. I mean, they're just being demonized, and this is all part of this new mayor's devious plan to basically make mutants the enemy. Like, for example, this right here, this whole spread here was one of my favorite panels I've ever seen. Look how Juan Ferreira shows Michelangelo's entrance into this building, and how he, honestly, if you are reading this, you have to follow his path to numerically, correctly, get the right sequence on all these little bubbles where he's kind of talking inside his head. This is very cool. I actually don't think I've ever seen quite a spread of panel like this before in my life. But I probably have. However, I don't know if anyone's ever done it as cool as Juan has. And the way he brought Bebop and Rocksteady to life for this book was just outstanding. Put a smile on my face. So anyway, we get to issue 7, and, I'll play ball and say, oh, it's a new story arc. But essentially, yeah, we issue 1 through 6, everyone got introduced. All the characters, all the players in the game got introduced. Even the new Shredder, I think that's Shredder's granddaughter, Kyrie, I think her name. But she actually hasn't been introduced, just hinted at through means of her thugs, Bebop and Rocksteady. But essentially what we got here is the 4 Turtles, and they're all concerned about Donatello, and they're all fighting, and they're all trying to go about this situation while they hide in the sewer, and the whole city's hunting after them. They all try to go about it in different ways. Some of them are going out and just more or less trying to stop some of the chaos being created by the Foot Clan. against other mutants, and Donatello especially does not give up on that. There's the whole theme with the dead rat, and one by one, each of the turtles kind of hears the rats crying. Only they can hear it. You got April O'Neil getting introduced, and she's more or less dealing with the presence of Splinter's ghostly blanket on all of them, protecting them all, and she's actually interacting with like a giant swarm of rats that, every time she pops up, all these rats come and swarm out. It's cool. I mean, they're reaching here. I personally liked it, but if you're not into, the paranormal or, the phenomenons, miracles, or that, this might not be for you. But anyway, they have this conundrum with this mayor who's got them on the run, and meanwhile they're breaking apart at the seams themselves. Even after they all have their personal moment reconnecting with Splinter, they're still at each other's throats, and it's not just handed to you. The resolution that Jason Aaron comes to bring them all together. But it's nice. The nostalgia really hits for me, and so we wind up with them eventually turning themselves in. Donatello is the first to do it. He gets caged, and then they all eventually get captured up with him, and they actually have to stand their day at trial. And this was one of the moments where it was convenient storytelling. They basically, by way of April O'Neil just kicking the door in and a whole bunch of chaos going on. I mean, the Turtles basically go like nuts and start kicking everyone's ass. And then the next thing you know, they're standing there with a big smile on their face, and they're about to get a guilty verdict. And then like I said, April O'Neil kicks open the door, and there's this big group of people who are like, they've been out saving me during all the chaos. They helped us. I'm a human being, and they saved me. And so like the judge and the jury, they're like, we have no choice but to throw this case out. And that, I believe, is issue 10 or 11. Actually, I think it's 11. And yeah, again, it was really cartoony and turtly and cool, and Donatello is just grinning like a fool the whole time, and he seems to know something that the other turtles don't know, and it's comedic. But if you are skeptical, if you're a skeptical reader, you want, realism, and you want something to feel like it's actually gritty enough to happen in the real world, if mutagen was really out there, this might not be the book for you, and I hope you read it anyway and it wins you over. But that's kind of where things are going. And the final few issues, the important details that are going to be kind of what is going to happen in issue 12, I'm going to leave that out. But let's just say that there's going to be an encounter with a big foe. It might just happen to be, a combination of a lot of their different enemies all coming together for this one big foe. And I don't know, maybe that's going to be the final boss of these 12 issues, or maybe it's, there's going to be another appearance of a big foe, and then we're, moving on from there. But I'm hyped up. I'm a Turtle fan. I loved the movies, the live action movies. I loved the series. I love what I read of the classic series. I didn't get too far. I need to go back. I do love The Last Ronin. I'm a big time Turtle fan. They've been part of my life, and I'm biased. But let's go ahead and get into the rating part of this. I got a new system I'm going to be employing so that I'm actually giving these runs a score based on logic and not just going, I liked it and blasting off. But it's definitely a recommend from me. But I am recommending it to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans and fans of people who can suspend, once again, to reuse the phrase, if you can suspend your disbelief for, a couple of hours, you can read a really good book and maybe even shed a tear feeling like a kid again. All right, let's get into the rating section. I'm going to explain my new scoring system. Okay, so going forward with my reviews from here on out, I'm going to actually have a scoring system, and I'm going to quickly explain it each time. But essentially, the scoring is going to be based 1 out of 10. There's going to be 2 points awarded for overall sequential reading ability or readability. So that's, everything all in a line. How does it read? Then we're going to have 1 point for individual issue readability. That's also going to include the aspect of if I just picked up a random issue, can I open it up and be drawn in to want to read the entire run? We will have 2 points for art, a possible 2 points for art, 1 point for covers. That's not just does the cover tell the story of what's inside, or is the cover good, but like a bad cover to interior art ratio always has bothered me unless the writing is really exceptional and the story is really unique. So I really prefer when my covers kind of match what you're gonna get. There will also be a point awarded for coloring. So you got the 2 points for art, 1 point for covers, 1 point for the coloring. Then we're gonna have 2 points in regards to like the character development. To develop a bunch of characters and introduce them really well in issue 1, and then never have them grow. To introduce the world, really rapidly in issue 1, and then just cut the world building off there and just have there's definitely something to be said for both, and that kind of leads up to what I'm gonna talk about by the last point, which is 1 point, a possible 1 full point for legs going forward. Like, now, how well did they set the table, and should this comic continue? Should you invest your time into it with the expectation of continuing going forward, thinking that, hey, this was good, and I want to keep spending money on this and keep knowing what's next. So that's the new rating system that should come up with 10 points. So let's get into it. All right, so for the first 2 points, the overall reading ability sequentially read from issue 1 through 11, I would say this was a pleasurable read. As a Turtle fan, I definitely got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that I remembered as a kid, and I also was drawn in by how well Jason Aaron developed those characters and gave them each an individual personality, and he managed to get me to relate to everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and give, as far as sequential reading, this is best when read all together. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 2 out of 2, a perfect score on that. That was absolutely, for me personally, I was able to get around all the little things. I liked the story. I liked it. It hit me in the feels. And so 2 out of 2 for overall readability. It's not gonna be much different for the individual issue readability. I feel like I could pick up any issue at any point in this series, especially if it was issue 6 and on. The artwork and the action and the moods and the exceptional writing, I don't see how I couldn't get drawn in. I don't see how I couldn't be tempted to say, all right, I need to go and get the earlier issues and get caught up. So I'm gonna give this was excellent. This was like Transformers level. I think maybe one issue might have been a problem, and that would have been issue 11, and it's just setting up the table. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it the full 1 point. These artists, as far as the two possible points for the artwork, these artists all seem to get it to a T. I mean, it was textbook stuff with the Turtles, and like guys like Juan Ferreira literally went above and beyond. This was like career-making artwork, issue 6 and on, and I really enjoyed the first 5 issues as well. I'd say the only dip in quality was going to be that Donatello issue. I get it. I really get it, because he was in such a ravaged state. It made sense to have like a really gritty, almost it like by comparison, you know, it was way more minimalistic in approach. It was less detailed. The characters looked more cartoony. It definitely looked like a scaled down version of the art, and so for me, I'll give the art overall a 1.75, because while it wasn't jarring for me, I could understand why the changing in the art for the first 5 issues could be a bit of a holdback for someone on the outside looking in. So 1.75. When it comes to covers, I guess it's not, you know, fair to, you know, judge it entirely on the cover A's, but that's what I got. I got the main cover A's. I feel like they're supposed to be the flagship covers, and this was, again, a really strong showing from every single cover artist they had depicted what you're gonna get in the comic and drew me in. I really like a cover that hypes me up, and what's kind of neat is, like, knowing what happens in issues 1 through 11, you can kind of get a summarized version of the story if you just line the covers up and look at them. Would I be able to, you know, put all the pieces together? No, absolutely not. You know, I'm not a mind reader. But for me, these covers hit. They were all attractive. They were all very well done. The art didn't always match up with what you got inside, but it was, you know, as far as like the actual details of the art, but it was, they always kind of showed the what the actual content of the issue was going to be. And for me, that's A+ work on cover A's. So I'm going to go ahead and give them the full point on the cover rating. Coloring was easy. Fantastic work on every single issue, even the issues with the changing artwork. It was vivid. It was Turtles. So, I mean, 1 point. As far as the 2 points available for character development, I think I've kind of gone into that I really like. Specifically, we had the mayor character, that evil mayor guy. His whole backstory is explained, and his whole psychology. So, I mean, he's developed very well. You learn to hate him a lot really quick, and you definitely gain as each issue goes on. You really are rooting for, like, Raph and Michelangelo to stop fighting, and you're rooting for all the the 3 brothers who aren't in, haven't lost their minds, to finally see what Donatello's seeing, and finally, get where his mind's at, because he ain't as crazy as he seems. So I really liked that. As far as the world building, that was where things kind of fell off just a little bit. Like I mentioned, the whole thing with the court case. They definitely depicted the Turtles, going out and doing good deeds, even though they were being hunted. That didn't stop them from being who they were. But it definitely, the world building just wasn't on the level of the character development. But that said, it's really offset by the art. But I'm going to go ahead and give it, overall for this section, I'm going to give it a 1.5 because of the lacking aspects and the little bit of need for a spiritual side of things. That tells me that Jason Aaron had a great story, but he also had to wrap it up in 12 issues. So the inclusion of the Master Splinter thing, even though he developed the 4 brothers so well, there was still a need for something to kind of come along and spur things along a little bit faster than they would have organically. But I mean, this story is impossible without that. So like I said, 1.5. as far as the last remaining point, does this run have legs? While we do know that it is going to continue, Jason Aaron will no longer be on the project, which is a disappointment. And I understand that Juan Ferreira is leaving as well. So what we kind of have is a clean slate going forward with a table set by an excellent team. And now we just got to hope that things are going to stay up after issue 12 releases this week, and I hope that issue 12 delivers. That's the other thing. We got to see if issue 12 delivers. But this is going to continue, and we're going to kind of start to see where things are going to go from here. If the quality can even be 3/4 of what it's been so far, I'm still on board, and I think you should be too, because this has the potential to go for a nice long time and continue the Turtles' legacy. So does it have legs going forward? Yes, hopefully. If we're basing it all off of what Jason Aaron has done so far through issue 11, let's go ahead and give it a... let's go ahead and give it a 1. Let's give it the full point. Aaron's been exceptional, and this, for me, this felt good. I needed that reconnection with my Turtles, and this definitely hit the mark. Was not disappointed. Was a very good investment of my time and my money, obviously. And waiting, the amount of time I waited to get to 11 issues to get where we are today, biding my time like that was worth every second. And believe me, I thought about breaking into this sooner and spoiling it for myself before I got that far. But once I knew Aaron was going to be only on for 12 issues, it seemed important to me to kind of compile and give it a go all at one time. So for an overall score, I believe we have it at 9.25. Correct me if my math is wrong, but I'll catch it in editing if I screwed up. But that's a very high rating. So give it a shot. Give a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles a shot. Whether you go and collect all 12 issues, go on eBay or something, or maybe if you go to your local comic shop, they might have it sitting on the shelf, collected as a set for you. My shop does that for about up to 6 issues, and they call them catch-up packs. So see if they got that. Otherwise, expect trade paperbacks. They've done that with previous IDW lines. You can go back and read the previous 150 issue IDW run pretty easily. It'll cost you a little bit of money to get them all, but they yeah, I mean, the artwork in that one was pretty cool. But I'm definitely feeling these first 11 issues, and Wednesday issue 12 is going to drop, and I'm going to be reading that bad boy right away. So anyway, thank you so much for getting through this whole review. Please like and subscribe. I got more on the way. We got Usagi Yojimbo coming up next, and if you saw my preview video, but we're also going to be doing the X-Men and the Uncanny X-Men lines side by side, 2 videos back to back. We're going to check those out, see if those are worth getting into. And then we have a smaller title from Image coming up called We're Taking Everyone Down With Us. And I'm looking forward to checking that out, because I've heard some really good things from the review channels I check out. And that one was on the back burner for a while, but it was I came across my little pile of those issues, and I said, you know what? We're getting business done this week, so let's get 5 reviews out in 1 week, and let's give my viewers a treat. So I hope you'll tune back in for those, and thank you so much. I have a glorious day, and please keep reading comics. Later.